Hey cats, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rembrandt, and today we're going to be making something from my all-time favorite series, Dark Souls. I first played Dark Souls when it released in 2011. It was a far cry from the games I normally played at that time in my life. Its somewhat clunky combat system were foreign and unforgiving. Also, the lack of direction made progressing through the game feel confusing, slow and tedious. But through perseverance, I learned to love the game and the world of Lord Dran. In this video, I'll be constructing something that I consider to be quite iconic from the Souls series, a bonfire. Starting off, I wanted to make the sword of the bonfire from clay, and to give it some support structure and general shape, I used some of this tie wire. The sword itself was about 5 inches long. I'm not sure what scale that would be, but someone could probably figure that out. Channeling my inner north of the border, I rolled some polymer clay into a wormy dealy and then flattened it out. Using the pinch and roll technique, I wrapped the clay around the wire, forming it into a cylindrical tube, and then baked it in the oven for an indeterminate amount of time. Once baked, I sanded the clay until it was nice and smooth and had a uniform shape.
So smooth.
With a craft knife, I began shaping the sword, starting with the hilt. Good enough for now. Making my way down the shaft, I rolled out some more clay into a thin snick and coiled it around the sword. I then baked the piece again to set the work in place. Oh, and I also went a little bananas and completed the crossguard and pommel off camera. Sorry about that. Back to my trusty blade. It was time to carve some more clay. To dial in the details on this fine piece, I used a set of tiny files that I conveniently found in my garage. I must say I was pleasantly surprised with how the sword turned out and with how easy it was to make.
Don't forget to clean.
To start the next phase of the build, I used the classic craft concoction of Mod Podge and black paint to seal the sword up. To make a base, I used a compass and traced out a circle on some scrap foam board.
Isn't that satisfying?
Some more delicious Mod Podge and paint, followed by 100% organic dirt from a hole in my yard. It's free real estate. About halfway through editing, I went to get something to drink, and I noticed someone had left a message on my floor. Try finger, but hole. I'm not sure what that's all about. Moving on to the next phase of the build, I gave the sword a coat of black paint off camera and began working on the base. First gluing a few rocks in place with some tacky glue. Constructing the fire was by far the most time-consuming portion of this build. I used tie wire and hot glue, building the glue up slowly, and then while it was drying, stretching it out a bit, as you can see here. This is the end result. Now just do that like 10 more times and you'll have a whole fire. Looks like a fire to me, besides the lack of color. I guess it's time to paint. Using a bit of burnt sienna paint, I gave the sword a dry brush to really show off the features and give it a rusty, weathered look. A bonfire wouldn't be a bonfire without some bones in it. Once these bones had dried, I glued them in place off camera. Now it's time to paint the flames and hopefully not make them too cartoonish, starting with a few coats of yellow for a base coat. I then added bits of orange and red on top of that to finish it off. Once the flames had dried, I painted the ground of the base a nice light gray to give it that ashen look, and I also painted the rocks a darker gray. To give the ground a nice weathered look, I applied a homemade dark wash over the base. Lastly, to finish this project, I hot glued my work to this circular piece of wood and painted the sides black to give it a finished look. I had a lot of fun making this micro build, and I hope you enjoyed watching just as much as I enjoyed creating it. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.